Hey everybody, this just in and what it means for you. Well, Elon Musk says that Tesla is ready to buy $1.5 billion in Bitcoin and he plans to accept it as payment. Well, this is really moving the market. Is this a long-term play or a short-term trade? If this is something that you're interested, let's take a deeper dive. Hello, everybody. My name is Glenn Tompkins, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest, and it's my pleasure to be here to talk a little bit about what's going on with Bitcoin. Now, as you know, Elon Musk is an influencer. He has a lot of money out there, and he's got a big company, Tesla. And could he be just moving Bitcoin, or is Bitcoin primed to be able to really take off and make money? So we're going to do a little deeper dive into Bitcoin. Let's go to the story that I have for you right here. It says Tesla buys $1.5 billion in Bitcoin and plans to accept it as payment. So this is one of the few companies out there that's willing to accept Bitcoin as payment for products or goods. That's making Bitcoin a lot more of a viable interest to a lot of investors out in the market. So again, is this a long-term play or is this a short-term trade because somebody like Elon Musk seems to be bumping it up? Well, you know, saying that you're ready to take this for payment, other people like PayPal and Square are ready to take Bitcoin as payment, and more companies are coming on board with that idea. Are we ready for this? Well, if you're not, you don't want to be left behind because this could be the wave of the future, thus pushing Bitcoin to higher and higher levels. I've seen stories out on the internet where Bitcoin can go over as high as $100,000 or $140,000. That's crazy, but you don't want to miss the train if the opportunity presents itself. Now, Tesla is just one of the companies that I'm going to talk about today in the Bitcoin space. I've done a story on Marathon. I'm going to bring that up. Marathon Patent Group to receive 4,000 new Bitcoin mining rigs from Bitmain. That means that they're producing more Bitcoin, and as you produce more Bitcoin, it's available for people to use. So there was a time where Bitcoin was a laughing stock in the stock market, no pun on words, but right now they are really a force to be reckoned with, and you could be in a situation where you're poised to make a good run in Bitcoin. Now, many of you have already done it, and many of you are still sitting back saying, is it too late for me to jump on board? Oh man, it's too expensive for me to jump on board with. I'm going to help you with that as well. And one other company that's out there, how about RIOT? RIOT, California pension fund, loaded up on RIOT shares during Bitcoin's Q4 rally. Man, so a pension fund is looking into buying RIOT as a means to grow that pension fund. That's very interesting. And again, Bitcoin is now one of the little guys that's sitting at the big boy table right now, and that could be a prime position for you to jump on board with it. Now, I'm going to take it a step further. This is the news, but now let's look at how VectorVest analyzes these stocks to help you to make a better decision on whether if this is just a fad or if this is something that's here to stay. So now I'm going to get into the VectorVest software. And from this software, let's take a look at these stocks that are in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency field. Now, Mara and RIOT I just talked about, and we don't track exactly BTC for Bitcoin, but something like Mara or RIOT are the tools that we can use within the software to help you to make money. Now, this story came out yesterday, and look at what these stocks are doing today. Mara today is up over 18%. RIOT is up over 17, now 18%. And for those of you who say that Bitcoin is just too expensive for me to get into, how about tracking the whole industry in one ticker symbol known as BLOK, Amplify? That is a good way to trade the whole industry in one ticker symbol. It's a little less money that you can take advantage of. Now, they're a little bit more money than Mara or RIOT, but now I'm taking advantage of all of the stocks that are in that industry instead of one or two individual stocks. So as I analyze the stock, let's start with Mara. It's trading at $37 in the VectorVest software with a value of $6.75. Now, for anybody who out there says, man, that's just wrong, you guys don't know what you're doing. There's a specific way that we put value on the stock. Value means what the stock is currently worth. It doesn't make it a bad stock if the stock is trading over its value. What Mara is telling me is that trading at $38 with a value of $6.75, people are willing to pay a premium to own the stock. That means that there's a lot of people out there that see the potential behind Bitcoin and they're willing to put their money into that stock even though it's outpacing its value. Doesn't make it a bad stock. Let's look at RIOT, trading at $38 with a value of $189. This is a little bit more grossly overvalued, but if the potential out there is that it's going to run, people are willing to put money behind it, thus driving it higher than its value. So both of these are overvalued. I will come back to amplify in a moment. All right, so as we look at this, let's look at the VectorVest indicators. And many of you don't realize or don't understand how our indicators help the individual retail investor. Relative value, relative safety, relative timing, VST. These are our core proprietary indicators, and they are all cast on a scale between 0 and 2. We make it simple. If the indicator is above the value of 1, it's favorable. If it's below the value of 1, it's unfavorable. So let's start off with relative value. Relative value looks at the stock's long-term price appreciation potential. Remember the question I asked, is this a stock that you want to own long-term or is this a short-term trade? Relative value tells me that this stock should be outperformed by a AAA corporate bond over the next 1 to 3 years. So a bond, which you invest in after it matures, you get all your money back with a small interest rate. So Mara will be outperformed by that AAA corporate bond. And a lot of people buy bonds and they, just do it over and over just to grow their portfolios in a nice, steady manner. Well, Mara is saying that, again, it will be outperformed by that AAA corporate bond. RIOT, the same kind of scenario. It is below the value of 1 on relative value, so that AAA corporate bond, long-term, over the next 1 to 3 years, should outperform both of these stocks. Next indicator, relative safety. Now, this is an indicator of risk. How risky is the stock? Relative safety looks at the consistency and predictability of a company's financial performance. So when you look at debt to equity, and all of those things that reside in the financial field, we have all of that tied into relative safety to give you an understanding of how risky the stock is. Below the value of 1, the stock is risky. So I'm looking at Mara with a relative safety of 0.76. It's a little riskier of a stock, and blockchain or RIOT at a relative safety of 0.82, also a little more risky. Now, when we analyze stocks, we put the combination of fundamental analysis along with the insight of technical analysis. Relative timing is our technical indicator. Relative timing looks at the short-term price trend of the stock. Is it moving up or moving down? The higher above 1 it is, the faster in an uptrend it is, and the more below 1 it is, the faster in a downtrend it is. Now, if it's on that scale between 0 and 2, Mara and RIOT are rocketing to the moon. All right, so right now they are full bore in upward momentum and running. Now, we look at all 3 of these indicators, relative value, relative safety, relative timing, and we give an overall analysis on the stock with our value, safety, timing vector. This is the master indicator that we use for analyzing stocks. Notice that the combination of the 3 still have VST above the value of 1, telling us that by way of value, safety, and timing, it is still a good stock. So let's tie this all together. Is this a short-term play or is this a long-term hold? Well, fundamentally, Mara and RIOT are not there where they need to be on a fundamental basis, but on a technical basis, they are rocking and rolling. Now, what makes a stock move? Earnings. Earnings is the engine that drives a stock's price higher. Now, we have forward earnings per share. It's forecasted out 12 months. So when you look at our earnings per share, we're saying at this time, next year, the earnings per share or the earnings should be at 24 cents on Mara. And on RIOT, it's just flat at negative 1 penny. But this is the key thing to help you to determine whether it's a long-term play or not. These companies both are growing their earnings at a double-digit pace. When we look at Mara, it's growing its earnings at a rate of 29% a year. So not only is news moving the stock is making money and growing their earnings, and that's important when looking to take advantage of a stock from a longer-term perspective. Now, even though RIOT's earnings per share or forecasted earnings per share is down 1 cent, they are growing their earnings at a clip of 23% a year. This company is making money, and that earnings per share will turn positive pretty soon. So, do I like it from a long-term perspective? Well, from an earnings play, I do. Now, what I don't like is the fundamentals behind it. But if the stock continues to move up, if the earnings continue to grow, then you know something? The fundamentals will come behind it. Keep in mind that right now, based on its value, the stock is trading high over its value because people are willing to pay that premium. The value will come up as the stock continues to make money, and those things happen. It will all come to play. So, in order to answer the question, is this a longer-term play or a shorter-term trade, I'm going to look at the graphs to help you determine that. I'm highlighting all of the stocks. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to view a stock graph. I'm going to look at a 3-month graph and a couple of things that I want you to keep your eyes on. Now that I'm looking at a graph, I'm now strictly looking at the technicals. I've analyzed the stock from the perspective of the fundamentals are not there, but the earnings are there. So now let's make a decision based on the graphs. What do I have on my graph? I've got a couple of things. I've got support and resistance. I always want to see where a stock's price is trading in regards to its level of support and resistance. Right now, with the move from yesterday's news, BLOK, which looks at the whole industry in one ticker symbol, if you want to play instead of just an individual stock, BLOK is the way to go. Looking from the bottom left to the top right, the stock is moving up. I also have on here a 20-day exponential moving average, a good swing trading moving average to help you to make a decision, clearly above and rising. Nice open candle today, bounced off support. This was a beautiful level of support on BLOK, sitting at $36.34. Touch, touch, touch. Bounced, and look at it rock and roll. Relative timing, the short-term price trend of the stock, now pegged at 2. The stock is in full bore go mode. Not only that, I have volume down below with a 20-day simple moving average of volume. Last 2 days, the stock is trading above its moving average of volume. Volume is conviction. So not only is the stock's price moving up, people are buying into it. Another technical indicator, though, stochastics, which will tell me if a stock is overbought or oversold. Stochastics on that scale between 0 and 100. When stochastics gets above the value of 80, the stock is shown to be in overbought territory. Could the news have driven the stock's price to a level where it's overbought? Absolutely. What does that mean for you? Well, if you're in the stock, let your stops manage the stocks. If you're not in the stock, I'm going to tell you to be careful. You probably want to look for a pullback before you enter the position, because what goes up at some point in time must come down. All right, so that's the whole industry. Let's go look at Mara. Mara looks a lot like BLOK, nicely above its 20-day exponential moving average, bouncing off a level of support, crossing back above. Great entry right there. Stock's price open candle today with a little wick at the top, which shows me that there's a little bit of selling pressure kicking in on today's candle. RT rocking and rolling. How about using that indicator relative timing to find when a stock has gone from below 1 to above 1? That's a great indication that the stock is about to take off. Volume, not as good as it was on BLOK, but definitely over the last 2 days above the average volume. Stock is just in the level of being overbought at that value of 80. I would still wait for an opportunity for a pullback before you jump on board. Now, wait a minute. If you want to take it now, you can, but it's going to be more of an aggressive move because the stock is in overbought territory. Let's move from Mara to the last stock, RIOT. It's a lot of the same. Interesting that RIOT is now just moving up into the area of being overbought as well. Just recently with the news, a little bit of selling pressure on today's candle, above the volume, average volume, RT moving higher. So on all of these stocks, one, I really like BLOK, B-L-O-K, to track the whole industry in one ticker symbol. As far as the other two, Mara and RIOT, I'm going to tell you that with the news bolstering the stock the way that it has, the stock has entered the territory of being overbought. I would be more in tune, if you're not in it, to wait for a little bit of a pullback before I jump on board with it right now. If you're currently trading it, I would say let your stops manage the trade. Now, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to say, oh, no, I'm going to hold this forever. All right, that's on you. But you know something? There's nothing wrong with making money on a stock. When you see these indicators telling you that it's overbought, take some of that off the table. If you don't want to take it all off the table, protect some of that gain that you've made. Maybe think about taking half off of the table and let the other half run. Or if you're okay with the money you've made, you're not super greedy, don't be afraid to take it off and wait for another buying opportunity to get in. All right. So, folks, it's been my pleasure to give you what's happening now and how to use it to help you invest as a retail investor in the market. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you like the content, hit the like button. And if you've got something to say, you want to give me your insights on it as well, don't forget to comment. I would love to hear what you have to say. Now, granted, I don't think everybody's going to agree with me, and I'm okay with that. But maybe for some of you, if giving you some insight as to how to manage the trade based on the news of an influencer like Elon Musk. Once again, my name is Glenn Tompkins, and it's been my pleasure. Until the next time, see ya.